TP, it's Chris. Can you hear me?
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Good. All right. Well, just a heads up, the YouTube live stream is active right now.
Great.
All right. We'll be ready here in just about 2 minutes and change. Mike Thomas will join us off the top. I do have currently, as long as the pictures stay up, I have some live pictures from Illinois currently, which is like under some tornado warnings or something like that. So I might just
I saw that.
bring those up and have Mike talk over it a little bit.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, man. All right, it's 9 o'clock on this Tuesday evening, this Tony P. Tuesday evening. I'm producer Chris. This is the Live Zone Primetime. Thank you so much to everyone joining us right now on Fox Local or streaming on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. I'm holding things down here in studio, but that doesn't mean I'm all by myself. Our good friend, our co-host, Tony P., he is live in Florida once again this evening. Tony P., how you doing, sir?
I'm a little bit burned today. I had a little bit of
got a little color on those cheeks.
You know, what was that movie? In the Heat of the Night with Robert De Niro. Well, this is In the Heat of the Day.
Okay.
For me,
were you back out on the golf course? Is that what this means?
I wasn't. I wanted to, have a little bit of a Florida look for you tonight. Last night was more of the classic kind of, I don't know, kind of 70s era business guy look with the white and the light blue pants. But tonight we go with this classic golf shirt from the Caddyshack course, which is in Florida, in Broward County, where Rodney Dangerfield was doing all his wonderful tricks all those years ago.
Yeah.
This is the shirt from the golf course. So I wanted to wear that as kind of got a good luck tennis. There's no gophers on it, though. It's just all, nice, it's nice, golf balls and tees. So, but today, great day. Went to the beach. That's why I have a little bit of redness here. But Gramps and I went to Flanagan's, which is a wonderful little beach bar brand and franchise here in South Florida area. We had some great food. It was hot today. But
how hot was it, Tony P?
How hot was it? No, it was 86 today at the height. Very, very nice. Solid. The wind was kind of non-existent, which would have helped me yesterday when I was playing golf. A lot of wind yesterday. I could have used the more kind of smoother air, if you will.
Okay, so my favorite answer to how hot was it joke ever one time was a David Letterman where he said it was so hot that the squirrels in New York had to use pot holders to handle their nuts. All right, taking a live look at the skyline above Washington, D.C. from our Skycam at the Stacks. Tony P., it was in the 80s here as well, if you can believe it. Not just in the 80s, Tony P., we are talking about record heat in the DMV on this March 10th. We are technically still in winter. But unfortunately, as they say, Tony P., all good things must come to an end. And when we're talking about someone being a bummer, that means we got to bring in the one and only Mike Thomas.
Wow, he's pressing down
Mike
too.
Thomas.
I like
Why am I a
it.
We
bummer
only
today?
ever have you on the show when
Only.
we are talking about like bad things, but today was gorgeous.
Today was a great day. Honestly, one of the best. And like, look, last couple of days I've been in Las Vegas, where every day was like
have you?
sunshine, 75, no humidity.
So the question that begs is, are you flush with cash currently?
Well,
that's
I'm back
a good
here and not.
So
you
no.
know, not living.
He's back at work.
I didn't buy a mansion and retire early, so I am back at
No.
work on a Tuesday, which means I didn't hit any of those jackpots out that way.
No inside straights, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Apparently, dealers in blackjack. I thought you had to get a 22, and here I was just wrong about it.
You hit on
but
16 and 17. Not a good idea.
you're right. It was, don't hit a 21. Lessons learned.
Mike always doubles
Right.
down on 11.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So today, a great day.
Yeah, let's take it.
You should double down on 11.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I was about to say,
That number's pretty, yeah, somewhat.
I don't think that was so bad. All right. Great day today. You're absolutely right. What an afternoon we had in terms of temperatures. 84 degrees. Not something we do terribly often this time of year. I mean, to put it in perspective, because I always like putting things in perspective, it was a record high. We broke that record high from back in 2016, so not that long ago, about 10 years ago we set it, but the record high was only 79, so we blew it out of the water 5 degrees above average this afternoon, or 5 degrees above the previous record this afternoon, and also the warmest we've been this early in the season since the year 2000. So it's been 26 years since we've had temperatures this warm, this early. All 3 area airports did hit record high temperatures. So just very impressive stuff all around here this afternoon in the DC area. And we think we're going to probably be dealing with temperatures that are very similar. Tomorrow, maybe a few degrees less. Really will depend on some sunshine around here, whether or not we're able to break out into it earlier in the day. But all things considered, not a bad afternoon here. So you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to have to change my iPad out.
Oh, okay.
Can you talk to Tony P for one more minute?
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
Actually, Mike, while you do that, I'm actually going to put up these live pictures, if you don't mind. And can you lend us a little bit of your expertise? Because right now what we are looking at is some of that severe weather that is out west. This is Illinois, as a matter of
Right,
fact.
which is what I was going to show. So first, I mean, obviously, when you're talking about spring warmth, this much spring warmth here, you're talking about spring weather somewhere. And right now, tonight, the target zone, they got a moderate risk out in northern Illinois that goes through northern Indiana. And what they mean by moderate risk here. Storm Prediction Center, and you're going to hear a lot heading into spring, so it's a good time for a little bit of a lesson in that department. They issue severe weather outlooks in 5 different categories. You've got marginal, you got slight, you got enhanced, you got moderate, you got high. So they've gone level 4 or 5 for severe weather today out in this part of the country because the environment is just ripe. I mean, this is almost a early summer type air mass out in the Midwest that's giving you plenty of moisture, plenty of instability, all ingredients for thunderstorms, which have within the last hour or two really started to ramp up. I know they got one confirmed tornado on the ground in Indiana right now, and there's another one that looked quite nasty north of it in northern Illinois, kind of north central Illinois. I want to say just north of the town of Peoria. South of Chicago, so the worst of the weather today is going to be south of Chicago.
This is some video from earlier in the day.
Yeah, and that was like one discrete cell that was earlier here this evening.
All right, so Mike's going to step away, but Tony P., we're going to keep this conversation going just for a hot second here. So this was video from Illinois a little earlier today. So basically, according to experts out there, that massive tornado hit Illinois. The twister touched down in the town of Kankakee, I want to say, some 60 miles south of Chicago. You can see the debris flying through the air, heavy winds moving through the region. The National Weather Service advising that the tornado was, quote, large and extremely dangerous, but no reports of any casualties or injuries was the good news. Back live, though, right now, we're taking looks at 2 different places right now. The bottom is that same county in Illinois. The top left, though, that is Oklahoma City, and you can just see some of those flashes of lightning.
Jeez.
Yeah, you can see some of the damage in the bottom right-hand corner too, with the flashing lights and everything.
Wow. I'll definitely ask Mike about this is like, is this normal for this time of year? Is this these weather patterns, and does the overall conditions of this time of year typically open itself up to this, or is this totally a new frontier that we're in?
Yeah.
Because this
so
is absolutely scary.
we'll stand by for Mike to come back. The good news is I don't believe we are expecting any of that severe weather here, but Mike will have more on that. It looks like they might be getting ready for a press conference here with. Well, you know what? Mike Thomas is back, so we'll keep monitoring this. We will keep monitoring this, Tony. But in the meantime, while we've got Mike Thomas back, we were talking about the record heat here in D.C. today. You know where else it's pretty hot, Tony P? Hawaii.
Where?
So hot, as a matter of fact, the lava is literally flowing.
Lava.
Tony P, have you ever been out in Hawaii?
I have never been. Now it's funny. I have a timeshare little thing that I have to use it in the next 13 months to go to Hawaii. So I'm going to be forced to go. So I can't wait because I definitely want to.
It's really not the worst thing in the world, Tony P.
No, it's not. I've heard about the closest I've come to Hawaii is watching that movie with George Clooney, The Descendants, which is about it's set in Hawaii. It's a great movie, but it's the closest I've ever come to actually understanding or seeing Hawaii on the screen.
Yeah,
but
all right.
Those volcanoes are really, really cool.
So I want to say
right?
Kilauea, I think, is either the most active or one of the most regularly active volcanoes out there.
No question about that. I just like
it's
showing
cool.
these live pictures when I have them.
And I something I've always wanted to see, but Hawaii's a little bit more expensive than Vegas to fly out to.
Correct.
But it's on the bucket list. See Kilauea one of these days.
A little more time consuming too. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead back in, and we'll jump into weather report. As I mentioned, record highs here in D.C. Felt like summer. 84 was your temp today, and that's typically your average high temperature in the kind of middle of June here in D.C. They put it in perspective of just how warm that was. 67 out there right now. Now, this number, Mathers, do point down in the 40s. I had people tweeting me yesterday saying, oh, it's way too humid. Oh, just you wait. But really, honestly, air mass not that moist right now. It feels rather pleasant. So we're able to cool down rather quickly now that we've lost the sun because the difference between the air temperature and the dew point is so far apart. So not a bad thing. We'll get pretty cool overnight down into the 50s for most of the region here. So a comfortably cool night, but you see all this warmth. And look what's happening near Chicago. And we'll mention this because we showed you the tornadoes on the ground just a moment ago. But you see Chicago's at 39 degrees tonight and not far south. I mean, the temperature gradient between northern Illinois and kind of still northern Illinois is like 40 degrees difference over such a short distance, and that really is a setup for some severe weather out that way. And you can see on satellite and radar here all those red boxes. You got tornado watch boxes that go from central Texas up through Oklahoma, Kansas, back through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. That kind of ring of fire in terms of thunderstorms today. It was ridge of high pressure centered down here. You're wrapping moisture up from the Gulf this way, and this all shifts east tomorrow, which will put D.C. at least under the potential of sort of being under the line of fire for these storms. So I'll go in on that Chicago area because we were talking about it earlier. This cell right here is nasty. Now, it looks like it still has, at last check, and let me see if I can pause it for you here. You got everything you want in terms of a tornadic thunderstorm. Two of them, honestly, at the moment. But this was the one that had the confirmed tornado on the ground. That was real severe here. And I'll back it up just a bit to where it was going through or just north of the town of Wheatfield there in Indiana. And, we look for things like a little bit of a hook echo there. You got just a lot of storm inflow on this side. That's a tornadic thunderstorm through and through. And that box that I have, that red box here, it's got a yellow stripe on it, which I know blends in with a severe thunderstorm warning. But that's essentially telling you that you have a tornado confirmed on the ground, either by National Weather Service. And unfortunately, when it has that yellow contour around it, that generally means that it's a pretty severe one. So let me go in.
Mike, just a heads up. So this live picture right here that I have pulled up, that's that Kankakee. That's just west of where you have up on the map, and that's some of the storm damage.
So that's some of the storm damage.
Yeah,
so yeah,
right
indeed
there.
It was on the ground and certainly was doing some damage out that way. Let me go ahead and see exactly what they have. So they have observed considerable tornado there for those locations out there in Illinois. And I'll say right now, given the more recent radar frames that we're pulling in here, this one back to the west looks particularly nasty. I mean, that right there, while not confirmed on the ground, as far as I'm aware, we can check on that real quick. Tornado warning likely radar indicated. However, that's a pretty good hook echo signature on that one right there. So folks there should certainly be seeking shelter. And this is one of the, you know, it is expected to be. We are in what they call a transitional year between La Nina, we're heading into an El Nino next year, and these transitional springs, where you're going from a La Nina regime to a El Nino regime, tend to be pretty active. And we think it's going to be pretty active even here in the D.C. region as we head through the next few months. Our severe weather season tends to be a little bit more tilted closer to summertime, so it's still a little early for us to get the big-time storms, but we'll have that potential tomorrow. There are some of the watches. We went over those already. I'll pull it in back to us here at home here in Washington, where we'll have a cool, it says mild on there because 60 is well above where average temperature should be, but it'll have a cooler feel because of the lack of humidity out there this evening. Tomorrow, though, winds continue to turn out of the south. You have that storm system that's causing chaos getting a little closer to us tomorrow. Highs out ahead of it, expected to be once again kind of anywhere from the 60s to the north to the lower 80s to the south. So a bit of a temperature gradient across the area. And just like what we deal with in the summer, we're going to be watching to see how the radar is tomorrow morning, because some of the leftover storms could come across us as some scattered showers during the morning hours. You see those here, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and that could be our saving grace tomorrow, because with those showers would come some clouds, and that could limit a bit of the daytime heating. Like if Futurecast is right, and sometimes it's not, to be completely honest with you, but if Futurecast is on the ball here and we have clouds and showers around till 3, then our severe potential is probably a little bit more limited tomorrow afternoon. If we clear out faster, we get to sunshine, temperatures are near 80, then the radar could be a little bit more populated around the 6, 7 o'clock hour than what you see here. It's basically got one strong storm going right across D.C., Calvert County, Prince George's, and Anne Arundel. Again, will all depend on whether or not we get to sunshine or not tomorrow afternoon, how widespread these would be. The concern is that just like what's happening south of Chicago today, there is a bit of a turning to the winds. So if we do get sunny and what we would say realize our severe potential tomorrow, we could have a few tornadoes around town. There is plenty of other guidance that I won't show you here that does have us avoiding any severe weather at all. So it's kind of a do we or don't we. Will depend on if we light that powder keg tomorrow with more sunshine than I guess you would say is expected. If you get high temperatures around 80 tomorrow here in D.C., we'll watch out tomorrow afternoon for some of these threats for isolated tornadoes. The bigger threats, damaging wind, it always is around here, but the potential is there that one or two of these cells could rotate tomorrow afternoon if that is the case. It is so weird talking 80s why I have the winter graphics in the next 10 days. I will be, these will go over. We like to be a little different here at Fox 5, so I have graphics designed for each season. Keeps it fun.
Yeah.
So you're
gonna, as I was telling Tony P last week, I remember the latest it snowed here in Washington D.C. was St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, really?
In my experience here, so we
you
still have a week.
You just
we still have a week.
You don't remember, but we had an April 4th or April 6th snow event for the 8 inches of snow.
Did we? Really?
That was I want to say that was either 2016 or 2015.
I would have been here.
It was one of the first. Me and Julie Wright, traffic name from back in the day, went sledding in it. And I want to say it was April 4th of 2015, maybe. That winter, if you don't remember 13, 14, we had no winter December, January, but winter came harshly in late January, all of March, April.
You don't want to pull the trigger too quick, is basically what I'm saying.
Exactly. Now, I will be Mr. Grumpy and warn you guys now, we do get cooler towards the end of the week. It's not extreme, but we'll have some spring, more typical spring weather days. However, next week, I've kind of been hinting at it on my Twitter for a while here. Watch out for one more push of kind of winter's revenge. And it'll bring in some stronger cold. No signs. Occasionally there has been a weather model or two that's wanted to give us some snow. No sign of any snow, in my opinion, just yet, not with this type of a setup. But temperatures would certainly be cold enough for it to snow. So we are going back to winter. I think it's probably our last real push of winter cold, and then we settle on into springtime. I would watch how that could affect the cherry blossoms. It's not going to damage them, but they gave the dates, and days like this certainly help those trees. The trees are thinking springtime to give them an 85-degree day. But when you could put things on pause, and that might delay peak bloom, maybe a little closer to early April versus late March, where they were thinking. but we'll see. Well, we will see here as we do have more warmth tomorrow. Yesterday was a warm day. We have 60s, middle 60s on there. That'll help them
for sure.
So, welcome to March, which is usually chaotic, and it's in like a lion.
Like a lion, baby.
This one's probably going out like a lion too, unfortunately. So,
Tony P
And
is
I
keeping
picked
his
the
eye
wrong
on.
week.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong week to be in Florida. I should have went next week when it was 40. Oh my God.
That's okay.
You win
Tony
some,
P.
you lose some,
You
Tony
win
P.
some, you lose some. Mike Thomas, thank you
It's
so much.
embarrassing.
We appreciate you more than anything, as always.
Yeah.
Good news or bad.
Good news. Well, you only
We
ever invite. You
appreciate
never
it.
like, hey, it's going to be sunny and 70. Come get like tips
That was
and your
today,
applause.
exactly. It just so
It's
happens that
the
there's other
half
stuff
and
going
half
on.
today.
Exactly. All right. Well,
This is
we'll
the
we'll
last
let
half
you
full.
get back to your normal routine. In the meantime, though, we do want to bring things back home. We'll keep an eye on that situation out in the Midwest. But back here at home, we do need to talk about the Potomac River because DC water crews are still working to repair the Potomac interceptor after that massive sewage spill earlier this year. But there's new concern tonight about another potential sewage leak impacting the Potomac. And a watchdog group believes it's causing unsafe levels of E. coli. The Potomac Riverkeeper says there is a leak in a culvert underneath the 200-year-old C&O Canal that is seeping some contaminated water into a tributary that flows into the river. The Riverkeeper network has conducted testing in and around the culvert and also where the tributary flows into the Potomac. Those tests showed E. coli numbers well above the EPA water safety limits. DC Water says they are investigating the leak, but there has been no sewage overflow since February 8th. They are also taking measures now in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers to place sandbags along the tributary that would dam up water flow. They have created a bypass system that has prevented an estimated 1 to 2 billion gallons, Tony P, of wastewater from flowing into the Potomac.
Wow.
Meanwhile, drinking water remains safe and unaffected. DC Water is in the final steps of restoring flow back into the Potomac interceptor that collapsed, and they may have more on that later this week. Then they will no longer use the C&O Canal, which could alleviate contamination concerns. Tomorrow, the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Board of Directors is set to get a briefing on updates and discuss funding the repairs. First, though, for more on this new issue, Potomac Riverkeepers Network President Betsy Nicholas is back and joins us now live. Betsy, thanks so much for joining us once again on the Live Zone Primetime. We love having you. We hate the reason why we have to keep having you.
Same goes for me on this one. Happy to join you, but I wish it was better news.
All right, so is this one step forward, two steps backward type situation, or is it just sort of like a brief sidestep?
I think that's really a question to still be answered. We found this problem that needs to be resolved. And I think it's fixable. So that's why the first thing we did is provided the information to DC Water as well as the related regulatory agencies. I think that they wouldn't really have had a reason to know that there's this leak from the canal. But now that we see what it's doing and putting all that raw sewage back into the river, let's get it fixed. Sandbags, maybe, help it for a short period of time. But as long as we're going to have the sewage flowing through the canal, this is a big risk.
Betsy, is this particular leak similar in terms of its relationship to infrastructure issues like we're seeing with the overall spill that's been, of course, the big, talking point here in DC? Is that similar? Is it about an infrastructure problem? Why this leak happened? And how was your team able to find it so quickly?
I would say it is related to infrastructure issues, not in terms of the C&O Canal and the aqueduct it's leaking into, but that there really wasn't a backup plan for when this gigantic sewage pipe ruptured. And as we've heard from DC Water and other sources, it's has potential to rupture in other places. It's an old pipe and needs maintenance. And so this kind of thing could continue to happen. As to how we found it quickly, we're watchdogs, right? We're looking for issues and problems, and our team keeps going out to the site and monitoring. But really, they're experts in this. You see, I am not there, because I am not the expert in the on-the-ground water quality monitoring. But our team's really well trained. We have what's called a Tier 3 certified lab, and actually we have 3 of them for monitoring bacteria. And that just means that we meet government standards in terms of the quality of data and work on it. So we noticed there was a problem by seeing that there was dripping coming from the aqueduct, and made us think, where is that coming from? And so we tested and then retested and retested just to make sure that it wasn't sort of a weird anomaly or weather related or anything like that.
So, should we be worried at all that no one else noticed this? Or is this the sort of thing that you guys have been on the ground doing since day one, A? And B, is DC Water doing enough in your opinion? And is the EPA doing enough in your opinion?
In terms of should we be worried a little bit? Yes. And I would say that's why we do this work, is that sometimes things are missed and they can have really significant consequences. So we're out there checking, taking a really much more independent look at the situation and not assuming that everything's functioning properly, just assuming there could be issues or problems, and when we see them, investigating. I would say that DC Water has been slow to react to any input from community members, and same for us. So what we heard back from them in response was there are no sewage overflows. I would agree. This is not an overflow, it's a leak. So that's a little bit concerning. EPA's been really quiet on what they're doing, what they're looking at here. We'd like better communication with communities, with groups like ours that are out there watching, so that we know that everybody has the right information and is using science and data to make decisions and fix this and keep communities safe.
Now, DC Water did mention that right now water is safe, and even with this level of E. coli that is coming up to the surface, basically, it's still okay. Is there a situation with this leak where it could begin to impact DC's water supply? And if that's the case, how can residents prepare for that effectively in a pretty tight timeline as we've seen throughout the winter?
It's a small amount in terms of volume that's coming in. It's just a really high level of bacteria because it's just from the raw sewage. In terms of impacting drinking water, right now we are okay because the drinking water uptakes are above this. But DC's backup pump is downstream of this. So if we were needing to use that right now, that would be a not good situation. People couldn't drink the water, and just boiling it may not be sufficient for this type of raw sewage.
Betsy, we saw earlier this week, late last week, that a class action lawsuit had been filed on behalf of a lot of people who use the river. Is that the sort of thing that your organization gets involved with too from a legal perspective, or are you much more just on the ground doing things from a testing perspective and public safety perspective?
We do both, but the type of lawsuit that was filed is something for collecting damages. We don't do that, and we really actually can't do that according to our mission as a nonprofit public interest organization. But we do seek to hold polluters accountable when the government fails to do so. We're not there yet. We're still evaluating how this is going before we would go to the step of taking any legal action. But looking at what was filed, I certainly understand the frustration for homeowners, businesses, people living around the area of Lot 10 where the giant rupture in this pipeline occurred. They are having a lot of direct impacts. All the people I know in that area no longer walk their dogs there. They don't run there because of the smell and the sewage and the contamination. And unfortunately, I wish I could say, especially for you, Tony, that these great temperatures we have right now are going to stay. But as we get to the part of the year where they're more consistent, those impacts are going to be a lot more noticeable in terms of smells and bugs and the related aspects.
Yeah, the bugs, that's one thing that I didn't even think of. And the minute you said it, I'm like, oh, that's going to be even worse for people. It's going to be a nuisance problem, but also I think a very much public health issue. Let me ask you this. So one of the things we talked about when this the original spill happened was the political infighting and the blame game. Have you seen throughout the last couple of months, and even with this newest development, have you seen that there has been coordination at least, and less of kind of siphoning off of responsibilities and more of a collective approach?
I do think it's a little bit more collective. Certainly, we know that the states of Maryland, Virginia are coordinating with DC and sharing information and data from the public water testing. We also have the public health agencies involved from the two states and DC, and that's who should be leading this. We want the public health professionals to be the ones making the decisions, and I'm really glad to see they're engaged. We just need to make sure that we keep that coordination moving forward and ensure that it's through the entire process of remediating and fixing this issue.
Betsy, speaking of politics, my final question, since the last time we chatted, you may have seen that DC Council member Christina Henderson introduced this new bill where basically they want to tax flushable, and I know we use that phrase in quotes because they are definitely not, flushable wipes, and sort of create a tax break for people installing bidets in their house instead. Is that the sort of legislation you can get, and excuse the pun, can you get behind?
Yes, I think that that is something that needs to happen much more broadly, right? Just in DC is not going to fix the problem. We need Maryland, we need Virginia. We've looked at labeling requirements, bans on them. I think things like labeling or the tax on them are probably going to be a lot more feasible and easier to implement. And so whatever we can do to stop these things from going down the toilets, because they cause chaos everywhere.
My final question, with these two instances, with the leak and again with the spillage, it's not exactly 100% linked, but they are all at the same time here. What does this mean about specific things that DC Water and federal officials need to do beyond just temporary remediation? What are some of the things that they can do this summer from a structural perspective just to keep things at bay for a decent amount of time for residents?
Well, there's a lot there. I mean, for sure, the biggest thing is daily testing and disclosure of that information, so people can be informed, and that needs to go a good bit downriver. We have been consistently monitoring 21 river miles downstream, but that may not even be enough because you have the oyster farming and a lot more of the shellfish even a little further downstream the river. And so they need to know that they can safely harvest and people can eat them. They need to clean the entire area that has been harmed by this. It has raw sewage, has flushable wipes all over the ground, up in the plant life, has toilet paper, all kinds of nasty things that none of us ever want to see. So that needs to be cleaned and restored to a natural state. And we need our confidence back. This has really harmed our confidence that we can trust that our infrastructure isn't just going to collapse and expose us to this in the future. So we need to see a plan for better maintenance, repairs, and schedules for the entire system.
All right, Betsy Nicholas, before we let you go, just a reminder, how can people follow along and get in touch with you?
Yes, just go to our website, potomacriverkeeper.org, and we have a specific page devoted to this and are updating daily, and you can also follow us on all of our social media channels.
All right, thank you again for joining us here on the Live Zone Primetime and lending your expertise as always.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.
All right, Tony P. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, though, we are going to talk about some of the other stories you've had your eye on down there in Florida. We're also going to talk about the 2026-2027 Broadway at the National lineup because, Tony P., there is one play in particular that I think you are really going to enjoy, and I think we might need to make plans to go see together. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime,
Can't wait.
we're going to leave you with this live picture once again from Hawaii, where that volcano continues to just absolutely I mean, it's incredible to watch, Tony P. So we're going to leave this live picture up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Science. Straight up.
All right, welcome back to the live Zone Primetime on this Tuesday night. Tony P having some fun in our Zoom room right now because we see you, Melissa Rosario, distracting my boy Tony.
I love talking to people.
We love it too. That's why we love all of our viewers, and we love when people join in and interact with us during the show. That's the beauty of that QR code, which I actually just took down so we could see that live picture of Kilauea erupting in Hawaii. In the meantime, though, Tony P, let's talk about some of the other stories that you have had your eye on today.
Have some hydration so my lips don't purse together for this rundown as it always does sometimes. We're going to start, of course, with the war in Iran. Images taken after a deadly strike on a school in Iran showed fragments consistent with U.S.-made munitions, according to investigators reviewing the blast site. Iranian officials say the strike hit a girls' school during the opening phase of the war and killed more than 170 people, many of them students. Photos from the scene showed fragments believed to be from American-manufactured precision-guided bombs, while U.S. officials say they are investigating whether the strike was a result of a targeting error or whether Iranian military assets were believed to be nearby. The incident has become one of the deadliest civilian events since the conflict began and is drawing international scrutiny. In New York, a verdict was reached yesterday, in the high-profile federal sex trafficking case against luxury real estate moguls Tal Orn and Alon Alexander. Prosecutors argued the brothers used their wealth, social status, and connections in elite nightlife and real estate circles to lure women to parties and luxury trips before drugging and sexually assaulting them. Testimony in the trial described incidents dating back more than a decade, involving women who said they were incapacitated with drugs like ketamine, MDMA, and alcohol before assaults occurred. More than a dozen women testified during the trial, and prosecutors said the alleged scheme ran from roughly 2008 through 2021. In Alabama, Governor Kay Ivey today announced that Charles Burton, hold on a second. We'll commute the sentence of Charles Burton, an inmate who has been in prison since 1991 for a murder that he did not commit. The murder was in the commission of a robbery that took place in 1991, and Burton did not pull the trigger. And the sentence of the person who actually did pull the trigger was commuted 15 years ago. So the governor today commuted that death sentence. He was set to be executed next week in Alabama. So that commutation done by Alabama Governor Kay Ivey on Mr. Burton today. At the White House, President Trump privately questioned aides about the role of longtime ally Corey Lewandowski in a Department of Homeland Security advertising campaign promoting immigration enforcement. Officials say the campaign was designed to highlight deportations and border enforcement policies, but questions arose internally over Lewandowski's involvement in helping to shape the messaging. Lewandowski has remained a close political advisor to President Trump since his 2016 campaign, though he does not hold an official government position today. Air travel disruptions could worsen if federal funding continues to lapse. The Transportation Security Administration warned that employee absences have already doubled during the mini shutdown period that roughly has caused 300 screeners to quit their jobs. TSA workers are considered essential employees, meaning they must report to work even when they are not being paid during this mini shutdown. Officials say the staffing shortages have already contributed to longer security lines at several airports and could worsen if the funding standoff continues. Chris, a lot of airports here in Florida are saying get to the airport 3 to 4 hours in advance as opposed to that 2-hour window. So this will be one thing to watch, Chris, as we continue on in this fight in the days and hopefully not months ahead.
Yeah, and especially with spring break coming up, the timing could
exactly
not be worse.
Right. And I'll be flying out Friday night, so I'll be kind of the guinea pig on this one to see if those fears are true. We shall see. I'll be telling you on Monday in our show in studio. But in the tech sector today, Meta quietly acquired the startup Multibook, an experimental social network built around AI-generated agents. It's basically a social media app for bots to post and communicate. The platform went viral after users discovered that many of the posts appearing on the network were actually written by AI rather than humans. Meta reportedly purchased the company to incorporate this technology into its own AI tools and social platforms, part of the company's broader push, of course, to integrate AI agents that can create content, interact with users, and automate social media engagement. My mouth dropped on this one. This is definitely a fear that a lot of people in the social media space have, and just users like every one of us of social media. At Disneyland today, a hazmat incident forced emergency crews to respond, and several people were taken to the hospital after exposure to an unknown substance. Authorities say the incident occurred inside the park's Tomorrowland area and prompted the temporary evacuation of part of the attraction and park. Fire officials said the substance was identified and the situation was contained, but multiple visitors and employees were treated for respiratory irritation as a precaution today. Very, very tough story. Again, a very unusual one out of Disneyland. In the media news, this one really hits home, I got to tell you, Producer Chris, because legendary broadcaster Bill Curtis announced he is retiring from NPR's long-running comedy news program. Wait, don't tell me. After more than 2 decades on the show, Curtis, who spent decades as a national television anchor and narrator for investigative programs like American Justice. This is American Justice. I love that show. I still watch reruns. And he joined the NPR panel show in 2009 as the program's official scorekeeper and announcer. His retirement marks the end of one of the most recognizable voices in radio news and storytelling. Bill Curtis, that voice, Chris, is iconic.
No question about it.
It is very, very sad that just an incredible run. I'll have to watch like early 90s reruns of Bill Curtis now, which is, just going to be very, very sad. I got to tell you that voice is, I wish that I could, this is like, I'm Bill Curtis. This is American Justice. Just kind of like him making crimes feel a little bit more, at least digestible is a little bit interesting, but it shows the craft though of this profession. And I also want to say, very happy about the development out of Alabama today with Mr. Burt and that case with the it was a murder, not a murder conviction, but it was a murder conviction as a capital murder offense. In Alabama and some southern states, there's a capital murder statute where if you're a part of the commission of a crime that involves a murder, you can be charged for that murder itself. That's why it's called capital murder. It's a different type of charge than murder in the first degree or murder in the second degree. And a lot of individuals have had cases like this where they've been on death row, they've been life without parole, the sentences have not been commuted, but the actual shooter in this case in Alabama that Burton was a part of, he left the scene and was outside when the murder took place. That person who actually did the murder was commuted many years ago. So I think it's a very good moment for justice because, again, those capital murder cases are very, very, very tough.
John Oliver had a great segment dedicated to capital murder in his last season, and
Yes.
one of the highlights of it was also that he used our own Fox 5's Katie Barlow and her show In the Courts to set up the entire explanation of what a capital murder case is. So it was
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Hey, one quick sports note, Tony P. I want to mention before we go, and this affects all the Ravens fans and Raiders fans. because we told you last week on Friday that the Las Vegas Raiders and Baltimore had kind of reached this deal to trade Max Crosby. However, Baltimore apparently backed out of the trade that was supposed to send the star pass rusher to the Ravens for 2 first-round draft picks. The deal was agreed to last Friday but could not be finalized until the start of the league year on Wednesday. The Raiders announced tonight that Baltimore backed out of the deal. The team said it had no further comments. So, no word on why that went down that way, but it looks like Max Crosby will not. So if you were planning on buying one of those jerseys, all you Ravens fans, make other plans. Yeah, exactly.
I know where he's not going, Chris. He's not going to New England because I think they quoted Brady. I think it was at the Vegas event for UFC. They quoted him as, I will not be sending anybody to New England, is again just because of the advantage there in the AFC. That was off the record chatter, not exactly a quote, but it was some on background discussions that took place, and Brady is not going to send it to a competitor like the New England Patriots, of course, being the runner-ups in the Super Bowl. I could see, though, maybe the Commanders getting involved, could see maybe that type of trade, but the Raiders have had a wonderful offseason. They're getting rated with A-plus ratings across the board from draft experts and free agency experts. They brought in a lot of offensive line help, and they're freeing up that cap space, hopefully, with this trade of Max Crosby to have a whole new era. And with, Fernando Mendoza, they'll be coming in, hopefully, in the #1 pick. We're not sure, though. That guy is the most wholesome football player I've ever seen in my life. What a nice guy. So.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to leave you with this live picture once again from Hawaii and that eruption. When we come back, though, Tony P., we're going to go from Hawaii to New York to right here in D.C. because we were talking about Broadway at the National. The lineup for the 26-27 season announced tonight, and we're getting a sneak peek. We're going to share that with you coming up on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime. Taking a live look from up in New York. This is outside of Fox News headquarters. Tony P., I'm not great enough at New York geography to know exactly what street is this with Radio City Music Hall. 6th Avenue. That is 6th Avenue.
Yeah, and that's Fox right there. So
that is Fox right there. But not too far away from there, Tony P. Not too far away from there would be Broadway. But you don't have to go all the way up to New York for a little taste of Broadway, because Broadway at the National is back, Tony P. Broadway at the National is back. Tonight, the National Theater unveiled the lineup for the 2026-2027 season. And they did it with some help from an acclaimed actor, singer, and producer. His name is Brandon Victor Dixon. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I remember him from the, I don't know if you remember, but they did like a special Easter live performance of Jesus Christ Superstar, and I believe he played Judas Iscariot. However, this glimpse, this unveiling that we got tonight, Tony P, it is full of bold new voices, blockbuster favorites, and must-see premieres. You saw a little glimpse of some of them there in the background. But Tony P, I have the full list right here in front of me of the plays, the Broadway shows that are coming to the National Theater, okay? And I could go in order, but I'm not going to. I'm going to skip ahead, Tony P, to the one that I think you and I may be most excited about.
Okay.
We've got to wait a little
Okay.
while. We've got to wait a full year, March 2nd through 7th, 2027, A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical,
Yes.
returns
Yes.
to Washington, D.C. So, Tony P., mark your calendar
Jane
now.
Walling, too.
That is where we will be. I forgot to tell you that I
Yes.
recently watched Song Sung Blue. We'll have to reconnect
Right.
offline about it. It was tremendous. It was so sad. I shed some tears, my friend.
Really good.
But I did.
So
again,
Walling should be with us too.
we're gonna
on
go.
this
We're gonna
trip.
go back to this in a second. But I loved that he was like, you know what? We're opening with Suleiman every time. He was like,
Yes.
we're opening with
That's a
Suleiman.
great
It's
line.
it's
That's a
one of
great
my
song.
favorites. It's tremendous, Tony P. It is
Oh,
tremendous.
it's really quick little fact. So that song, Neil Diamond. People always think that Paul Simon was the first American artist to actually go to the African continent and sample a lot of the traditional and the rich history of African music into pop. It was actually Neil Diamond was one of the first to do it in the 70s with Suleiman. It's African gospel, it's a little bit of pop, and it really pays tribute. I don't know exactly which country. I think it's kind of like middle of Africa, the continent. I'm not exactly sure which country. I'll get back on that. But that's where it sampled it from. Neil Diamond went there for many months and really wanted to make sure that he respected the sound and the rich culture around it. That was one of the first times that we saw an American artist do that and blend just beautiful African rhythms and the kind of gospel type of structure with pop, which is really, really interesting. So just a great song overall.
Tony, we could talk about Neil Diamond all night, but I
Sorry.
got to get back
Sorry,
to
it's
the
ready to go
Broadway.
technical
I got to
there.
get back
Sorry.
to Broadway at the National. I'm putting up the graphics so everyone at home can see. Get ready to have the time of your life, Tony P, because Dirty Dancing is on its way to
yes.
Broadway at the National, September 29th through October 4th, 2026. Then, October 6th through 11th, we have Maybe Happy Ending, the winner of 6 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. Tells the deeply human story of a chance encounter that sparks connection, adventure, and maybe even love. Then, in November, the 24th through December 6th, we have Alicia Keys' Hell's Kitchen. This is a DC premiere, as is the Maybe Happy Ending. This award-winning Broadway musical, created and inspired by the 17-time Grammy Award winner, takes you on the journey of Ali, a 17-year-old girl full of fire. Relatable, raw, and refreshingly fun. It's a celebration of finding yourself, your purpose, and the people who lift you up. You see it right there, front and center at the top, Tony P. Hamilton returns December 16th to February 7th. The unforgettable story of passion, unstoppable ambition, and the dawn of a new nation. Seen by more than 28 million people around the world. Tony P, are you one of them?
I haven't. Now,
You
my
haven't.
Aunt
Well,
Colleen,
good
one of my
news.
favorite people on earth.
I know where you can go to see it. Directly below Hamilton, The Bodyguard. This is a brand new production. May 18th through the 23rd, 2027. The award-winning smash hit musical is back, based on the 1992 film starring Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. Thrilling romantic musical that combines high-stakes suspense with unforgettable music. I have actually never seen the movie, so I need to fix that first.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't, no.
It's a really good movie, and I remember Kevin Costner gave one of the eulogies at Whitney Houston's funeral and talked about a few of the scenes in that, and just they became very, very close friends over the years after that movie. Truly a remarkable soundtrack, great acting performances, and just a cultural zeitgeist.
Tony P, I will always love you. Operation Mincemeat, a new musical. This is the
Thank
DC premiere, June 8th through 20. How did a dead body, a fake love letter, and of all people, Ian Fleming turn the tide of World War II? That's what this one tells the story of. Then we've got Just in Time. This is a DC premiere as well, July 20th through August 1st. It's a runaway hit, taking Broadway by storm. It'll make a splash in DC. Utterly electrifying. Tells the story of Bobby Darin, the legendary singer whose short but remarkable journey took him from teen idol to global sensation. My dream lover. You gotta respect Bobby Darin. Splish splash, Tony P. I was taking a bath.
On a Saturday night, I love that. Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. I am just really excited for this lineup. And I got to tell you something. I don't care what some Hollywood actors say. I like the opera. I like Broadway. I like poetry. I like all that stuff.
Well, good news, Tony P. But wait, there's more. We also have 7 season specials. Mamma Mia, the ABBA musical. I haven't.
Nice.
I've only seen the movie. I haven't seen the actual show. October 27th through November 15th. Of course, this one tells the story of a mother, a daughter, and 3 possible dads, all set to the music of that Swedish, just powerhouse. Also, November 17th through the 22nd, we have the Hip Hop Nutcracker. December 8th through 13th, we've got Waitress. This one, I believe, this is by Sarah Bareilles, who, remember, is married to Joe Tippett from right here in Montgomery County, who you can catch in Monarch Season 2. The DC premiere of Oh Mary, this is February 9th through the 21st, 2027, declared one of the best comedies in years by the New York Times. It is about the miserable, suffocated Mary Todd Lincoln in the weeks leading up to Abraham Lincoln's assassination. This one has gotten so much attention, not just because it was nominated for so many awards, but the rotating cast that they have in the Broadway version. Playwright Cola Scola, obviously one who originated the role. We've got Neil Diamond, The Beautiful Noise, March 2nd through 7th. We mentioned that. Then we have The Who's Tommy from April 20th through 25th on 2027. And then we've got Jersey Boys, April 27th through May 9th. That one, Tony P, that one speaks to your Italian heart, I know.
Oh, I've seen that about 5 times. I've seen that play, also seen the movie. Great movie, Clint Eastwood's direction. But I got to tell you, this is a great lineup. I've been to a few of these shows. I love that the National Theater does this. It's a wonderful place to go see a show. It's very easy to get in and out of. It's right in downtown near a couple metro stops. You can get there easily. The people are very, very nice in there. They get you to your seat easily. And it's just a great viewing experience. So anybody that loves Broadway, that loves a good show, go to downtown DC and enjoy this one.
Yeah, I've seen a couple shows there. I saw the Green Day musical, Broadway, Idiot, what is it called? American Idiot, the musical. I saw that there.
There was a musical about Green Day?
You have never seen American Idiot, the musical? Oh my God, Tony, this is a Tony P.
album.
It is a rock opera set to the American Idiot album, but it also combines elements from 21st Century Breakdown as well. I saw it on Broadway, and I saw it at the National Theater. It is so good. It is very of its time, though, I will just say. Much like the album, it is set against the backdrop of, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and, basically kind of a teenager, late teens, early 20s and, kind of directionless in life and enlists and kind of the impact it has on his life. So good.
Like that.
I also saw Jesus Christ Superstar there recently, and I believe I saw the Jagged Little Pill there as well. That's the Alanis Morissette-based musical off the music of Alanis Morissette. So I've never had a bad time there. Let's put it that way.
What's really interesting, too, I think at one of the theaters this year, I think it's this summer as well, Wendell Pierce is going to be playing Othello, which I'm really excited for.
Wendell Pierce, actor. For those of you who don't know, Bunk from The Wire, also most recently Perry White from 2025 Superman with James Gunn. I mean, that guy.
Exactly.
I love him.
He can play anything, movies, TV, play. I think he's going to play a wonderful Othello. That's a great role. One of my favorite plays to read when I was in AP English all those years ago in high school. Truly a wonderful play. And just, of course, the Shakespearean themes are endless in that play. What else is coming out? Oh, I hope that eventually John Proctor is the villain is a play that comes down to DC at National or somewhere in the area, because that is a really, really good play about, it's kind of a take on the John Proctor play, but it also talks about the Me Too movement in the late 2010s, and really blends together both those things beautifully, and it tells a very, very important story that we need to hear. So I hope they eventually bring that back.
All right, let's get Melissa in here as well. Melissa, I just ran through the full list. Any of those shows speaking to you?
I mean, I was forced by my daughter to watch Hamilton on TV. It was nice to see it, you know, at the National.
I will say that it was. I needed to listen to the soundtrack first. It's hard to follow if you haven't listened to it first, because there's so much going on. It's so fast paced that
it can't happen. Sorry, no soundtrack, because I won't be able to hear it. My daughter will be singing along and doing all kinds of stuff. Absolutely not. No.
Well, in the words of King George, you'll be back.
Yeah. I just can't. I'd rather just go and watch it. I'm gonna get a ticket as soon as they come. I do want to watch it because my daughter pressed me to watch it on TV. So yeah. I definitely want to watch it.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. Let's put it that way.
I won't. My last Broadway show I saw in New York was Les Miserables, and that was over 30 years ago. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you like seeing plays versus movies? Like, do you find the play experience to be better, or do you think movies are
either or? It doesn't matter to me. It's entertainment. I support it both. Yeah. So.
I was
plays are very intense.
Literally biting my tongue to not start singing One More Day. I've actually never seen Les Miserables, but I have listened to the soundtrack. All right, West Virginia Ben in the comments section says the Bodyguard soundtrack is awesome. They don't play it on the radio, but they do play that Whitney Houston song. Also, love Bobby Darin. I saw The Who before COVID, back when they were at Jiffy Lube in the Rain. The Who would be one of the great, they would be a great band to see live, Tony P.
Oh, I've seen them once in Boston at Fenway Park. They were fantastic.
Lucky duck. All right, Tony P.
I mean, with boom.
Also saw Aladdin on Broadway. The genie was better than Will Smith. Yeah, the guy who played the genie. I could sit here and talk Broadway musicals for the next 30 minutes.
We should do a movie podcast, just you and me. Entertainment. Honestly, I think
so the guy who played the genie in on Broadway in Aladdin, I've got less than 30 seconds to tell the story. He was supposed to play the voice of Audrey II at this this version of Little Shop of Horrors that I went and saw that had Josh Radnor in it, and unfortunately he ended up having to back out, so they ended up getting the guy who originally originated the role. It was tremendous. Tony P, we made it down to the final 8 seconds of the show.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your night down in Florida. Fox 5 News at 10 is coming up next. Thanks everyone for joining us once again. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, Tony, stream's over. Thanks again for everything.